recipes have an ingredient that just might fool you. Mike and Kelly and Annika are going to show us a recipe that's called?
It's called Avocado Chocolate Mousse. Normally mousse would be made with eggs and heavy cream and would not be a healthy dessert, and it takes up to 2 hours to prepare. But this is a recipe that can be done in 5 to 10 minutes, has less than half the calories, no cholesterol, and less fat than what the original would have.
Okay.
So, this is my daughter Annika and this is Kelly. They're going to be assisting me. So we're going to start with, this is not a cooking one. You're just going to do some light heating and blending. So that definitely cuts down time. So we're going to need some maple syrup for the sweetening. Now you could use 1 to 3 tablespoons. We're just going to do 2 here.
And we could use different sweeteners as well, so agave could work for this.
Possibly honey, but I haven't tried it yet. Okay, and then we're going to need some milk. Now, the recipe that we are utilizing today is from Well Plated by Erin. She has entitled Avocado Chocolate Mousse. So for the milk, we suggest a plant-based milk that you can have something that has a touch of sweet to it, like coconut, or you can use a soy. But pretty much any plant-based milk will do.
So, and some of the vanilla-flavored ones could work.
Mm-hmm, correct. All right, so we're going to use 1/4 cup. All right. And now we're going to need some of the cocoa powder or cacao. Either one will work, depending on what you have available. The cacao is less processed.
Cacao's a really great one to use. It's high in protein.
So we're going to use 3 tablespoons of the cacao powder. All right. And just because we've done this before, we know that it kind of helps just kind of do a little pre-blending to make the ingredients mix easier. All right, and up until now, this might not be a shocking ingredient list. But here is an avocado, and my wife somehow found this avocado that looks like maybe it was plucked from a nuclear power plant. It's quite large in size, but
So it's a tropical avocado. It's just a different variety.
But two large avocados will do. I'm just going to scoop this ripe avocado right into the blender.
So when we think about avocados, some of the good qualities of avocados are that they are high in protein, and they also have some antioxidants in them, and they're also high in potassium. So just some good things about avocados.
Now, while she's doing this, we have about 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. Now these are the Enjoy Life chocolate chips. You can use any of them. We chose to use many ones because they melt quicker. And we just have a little bit of hot water here that's melting these slowly. Makes for a nice even consistency. I'll help you with that. blend this again. All right, and now we're going to take the melted chocolate chips and add these to our mix. Now, in the recipe we're adapting from, they recommended using a microwave to heat up the chocolate chips in short bursts, but I found that it's kind of easy to burn the chocolate if you're not careful, so using a simple double boiler method to gently melt the chocolate helps. All right, I think that's good. A touch of vanilla. So about 1 teaspoon. All right. Okay, and that is it. Thank you.
I think that avocado was a good size.
So I'm going to share with you a little bit about that avocado. I think you called it a tropical avocado. Normally you find those in Florida. The little ones we see are the Hass avocado. Those come normally from California, and the ones that you had come from Florida. And the neat part about the big ones, they're a little less in fat, and they're bigger. And you know what? I had never thought about using them for something like this, and that's a really good idea. This looks exciting.
Now you notice that Annika and Kelly are topping this chocolate mousse with some whipped cream. This was actually made with a can of coconut cream, and you chill that overnight, and you just scoop out the fat, and it's a little bit of powdered sugar and a little bit of vanilla, and you're just kind of doing that in a blender until you get the right consistency. And it really helps in presentation. And in under 10 minutes, and your guests will think that you spent hours in the kitchen.
Carrie, this is another one of those recipes that might fool you.
Yeah.
What are we making? Brownies?
Yes, today we're going to make brownies. And I got this recipe from Chocolate Covered Katie, which is a really great website you can go to. It has lots of healthy recipes that have chocolate in them. And the hidden recipe ingredient is black beans. So black beans are in this, and it's also actually a gluten-free recipe, so there's no flour. The only thing you would have to make sure of is that your oats are actually gluten-free oats. So black beans are in here today to sub for the gooey component of an ingredient like butter or oil. So we put black beans in the food processor. She recommends using a food processor rather than a blender just because the texture comes out better. So it's 1.5 cups of black beans, which is basically 1 can of black beans. And then what you want to do is make sure you rinse all of that bean juice off of the black beans because you don't want that flavor in the brownies. And then these are just oats here I'm putting in the food processor. That's 1/2 cup of quick oats. And then to make it easier, I put all of my powdered ingredients in one little container here. But it's 2 tablespoons of cacao powder. She put cocoa, but I've been using cacao because cacao actually has a lot of calcium, and it actually has more calcium than milk, than cow's milk. So, and it's also high in antioxidants. So we're just going to dump all of that in there. And in this too, I had salt, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of baking powder. So we're gonna do next is 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And this is a very easy recipe in that you just put it all in one bowl and blend it. And I'm also gonna add, this is coconut oil. So I'm gonna do 1/4 of a cup of coconut. And the thing that makes this sweet is maple syrup. So this is 1/3 cup of maple syrup. Now that's all of our ingredients we're gonna actually blend together. So I'm gonna do that. It's gonna get loud for a little bit. And just make sure you blend it really well. Okay, so those are nice and blended up, and I don't know if you can see down in there, but it makes a very thick, gooey texture. So what you'll want to do is get an 8x8 pan and spray it with a little bit of olive oil spray. Make sure you get the sides. And then we're just going to take this off of here. And try not to cut yourself with the blade. And then the last thing we'll do before we put it in the oven is just mix in 1/2 cup to 3/4 a cup of chocolate chips. And I personally love these Lily's baking chips. They're so good. I love them, and they just have stevia for sweetener, so a lot healthier than your normal chocolate chips. So that's what I'm going to put in here. I'm going to put just 1/2 cup. Now it's kind of funny on the recipe. If you go to her blog, Chocolate Covered Katie, she says not optional, omit at your own risk. So. So maybe if you didn't add these, you would taste a little more of the bean flavor. So we're gonna add them in, and I'm just kind of mixing it in the food processor bowl, which isn't easy because there's a big hole in the middle, but you just make sure you get them all kind of evenly mixed with the batter, and then we're just gonna dump it in here. And you can see how thick this is, so you'll have to kind of smear it around a little bit. Make sure you get all of it off the sides. And beans, one thing that makes this healthier is beans are high in fiber, which is, you can never have too much in our diets, which most Americans probably don't get enough fiber. And then beans also have protein, and they have potassium. So it's a great way to indulge in a dessert and also not feel too bad about it. Okay, so we're just going to kind of smear this around evenly. I probably could have gone a touch longer blending because you can see a stray oat there, but you know, I don't mind having an oat show up, but if you wanted it really smooth, just make sure you blend a little longer. We'll get all that off the sides. Okay, and then you're gonna bake this in the oven at 350 for about 15 to 18 minutes. I made some of these last night. I went the full 18 minutes because they're very soft. And then she says in the recipe to let it cool for at least 10 minutes, and that's because when they come out, they'll kind of look like they're not done. But you just let them sit and cool, and then they're good to go. So we'll go ahead and bake those, but I can show you a finished product of these right here.
Ooh, those look good.
Yeah, you'd never know there's black beans hidden inside.
We give this a taste.
Yeah. So now you can have people over and fool them with a healthy dessert. They won't even know.
Great.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. I have another one of those recipes that the ingredients just might fool you. What we're going to start with is some dates and some kale, and I steamed them in this steamer. You can see the dates. I steamed them for about 8 minutes, and I'm going to take those and put them in a blender along with my other wet ingredients. So let me talk a minute about dates. The dates I'm using are a medjool date, and they are the big ones, like this. And then there's the datelet dates. Those are the smaller ones. You want to take the pits out of both of them. Oftentimes the datelet dates come already pitted, but always check them to make sure the pits are out, because in every bag I've found at least 1 or 2 pits that were still in it. But the medjool dates come with the dates still in it. So you just want to peel that open, take that date out, put it aside. Medjool dates are larger and they're a little bit sweeter. So I just wanted to show you the dates. So the dates we're using here are the medjool dates, and they've been steamed. Now we're going to add to that some of our wet ingredients. I like to use an unsweetened applesauce, and if the applesauce, I don't think I'm going to be able to use up a jar of it, I keep on hand some individual unsweetened applesauce. So today I've got some, let's use a spoon and get all the goodies out. So we've got a 1/2 cup. Each one of these little cups is 4 ounces, which is about 4 ounces is a 1/2 cup. So we got plenty of applesauce in here. So we only needed 1, but we've got 2. That'll be all right. And we're going to add 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. I like the vinaigrette. This happens to be a clear white balsamic coconut flavored, and we're going to do 2 tablespoons of that. So let's get carried away here with that. And then we want 1/3 cup of, I'm going to use soy milk. West soy is our favorite soy milk because the only thing in it is soy, beans, and water. We need 1/3 cup. And we're going to add, I like to use carob rather than chocolate. So today I have a carob. I'm going to use a scant 1/2 cup of carob in here to replace the original recipe was chocolate. And let's see, do we have everything? The other secret ingredient is sweet potatoes. We're going to add 3/4 cup of cooked sweet potato. The original recipe came from Get to the Roots Health and Wellness, and she uses a yellow sweet potato, but I just happen to have these sweet potatoes, so I'm going to use them. So let's see. We've got our kale and our dates, our applesauce, balsamic vinegar. Let's put 2 teaspoons of vanilla in here. This happens to be a white vanilla, but you can use either one. We have soy milk, and we have our carob powder. So we're going to give that a whiz. We may have to stir it because this is kind of thick. So we've taken our wet ingredients and blenderized them until they're smooth. Now I've taken my oatmeal. I started with old-fashioned oats, and I made oat flour. So this is 1.5 cups of old-fashioned oats made into flour. So we're going to do that, and we're going to add a teaspoon of baking powder and a teaspoon of baking soda. And we're going to do 1/4 cup of walnuts. And we're going to whisk those ingredients together. And then we're going to add, your wet ingredients are going to be thick. So we're going to add those. And you want to incorporate this really well. Make sure you get all of that oat flour and the dry ingredients mixed in well. Evelyn, could you bring me my baking pan, please? I think it's underneath we'll need our sample from over there. Wonderful. As you can see, there's just a few little white spots. Just getting the last of that oat flour mixed in. This is a little spray, or you could use parchment paper. Going to finish off the top. We're going to bake this at 350 for 30 minutes. One thing I wanted to show you, those of you that are not familiar with kale, I didn't understand this until I saw it the first time. So this is kale. You want to wash it, and then to strip it, the easiest way to do is just to grab it. Oh, I might not be able to. And pull. So that's the easiest way to grab kale, and just pull. Okay, let's bake this off, but here's what it's going to look like when it's finished. So let's find a knife, a knife, there. we'll get the official taste testers out in the audience to try this. I think you'll like it. Give it a try.
It stopped blending. I don't know what happened. Did the breaker flip or something?
So it's possible
Oh.
that you have something popped here.
Oh, you're right. It was my machine.
Can we move this back
Sorry.
over?
Yeah, should I move it back?